Well, good morning on this Monday, our first work week day of November. We've seen some changes in our weather. Of course, remember how October started off so warm? Well, we ended the month of October and started November on a more realistic note, we'll say. And more of those signs of colder days to come are in the forecast, too. You see behind me this graphic, November changes, and we're going to be talking about that coming up here. So first of all, today, well, we are looking at a day that's going to be mild for November standards again, early November, and windy as well. We've been watching that wind pick up. And on the sunny side, too, it should be, continuing to be a really nice afternoon. So we are going to get set up in a pattern here as we head toward the end of the week and into the weekend that's going to have a bunch of waves, weak waves, fast-moving waves move through and bringing us a chance for some precip and cold enough temperatures perhaps that we could see the potential for some rain and some snow chances for Saturday. A first alert weather day, now we raised that this morning, for the potential for maybe, and there's a big asterisk there, us seeing a chance for our first dusting or accumulation of very light snow in some areas. Again, it's November, the ground's still very warm, this is not sticking around, but still, it may be our first one. So we want you to be prepared, not only because of that, but because it's falling on the hunting opener weekend too. So that's important for us to be prepared for what's to come here. So we'll take this full screen view and get into the details on what we're expecting. So first of all, you may have noticed a difference when you woke up this morning between your Friday morning usual routine and your Monday morning routine here. We had more light in the morning hours. Sunrise and sunset shifted with the end of daylight saving time over the weekend. And so early risers rejoice because we saw earlier sunrises, and now we're seeing that sunrise. We saw it at 7:13 this morning. The problem is that heading home from work for those 9 to 5ers, you're going to be stepping out the door into some darker conditions because of the sunset happening around 5 o'clock now, 5:07 to be exact. Again, this is for Fargo. It's going to be sooner than that in our eastern viewing area and later than that in our western viewing area. Now tomorrow, we shifted our daylight, but we are still losing daylight in general until we get to the winter solstice. And so tomorrow, sunrise will be later, sunset will be earlier. And we'll keep that going all the way until the solstice, which, it's kind of depressing a little bit to talk about and think about and experience. But take heart, it's November 3rd. And it won't be long from now that we see that solstice, less than or a little over a month away here as we head into the month of December. We'll be watching for the drop in light also to slow down too as we head toward the solstice. So that's something we experienced today and we'll continue to experience. And one thing that I did want to bring up, I shared this, if we can move forward here. Yeah, I shared this morning. And we, just to kind of give some perspective, there's been a huge debate in recent years over over daylight saving time. Some people want to keep it all year round. Some people want to get rid of it completely. And some people just want to keep it the way it is. And, I've been looking into what that would mean if we kept daylight saving time all year round. It would be nice on the evening end of things because it is keeping our sunsets more into the 5 o'clock hour when they're at their earliest. So into December, it would be more into the 5 o'clock hour, which would be nice. But if we hold on to daylight saving all year round, that means we don't shift our daylight in the morning either, and so we continue to lose daylight in the morning. So here's that graphic full screen again. So on the latest sunrise in the winter. Now, sometimes that falls not exactly on the solstice, but the latest sunrise in the winter for each of these communities. Fargo would be at 9:12 in the morning that we would see the sun come up if we stayed with daylight saving time all year round. Grand Forks, 9:17. Devil's Lake, a little farther west and north, 9:25. And look at Williston. 9:44 a.m. would be our sunrise, closer to the 10 o'clock hour when we would see the sun come up. So that kind of puts things into perspective. I shared this morning, and I did hear from a viewer who was like, what about the other side of things? You're only sharing the morning. Well, we already know what the advantages are for staying on daylight saving time. We get to keep around that sunset a little bit longer, or the sun a little bit longer into sunset. But we're so focused on that, I think, that we haven't quite looked at, where we pay the price, and that's going to be in the mornings. So something to keep in mind as the debate rages on for daylight saving time all year, or whatever it is you are shooting for. And I know not everybody's on a 9 to 5 schedule, so that also factors into what is good for you and your family. But it is an interesting debate, to say the least. So anyway, just a little side note here as we're talking about the sunrises and sunsets. And one more thing, just looking at our climatology for November. This is Grand Forks. Our average our average high on November 1st is 44. And by the time we get to the end of the month, it's 26. So our idea of what is above or below average shifts throughout the course of the month. And average lows are 25 and 11. And today we were nowhere near our average low in the low to mid 20s. We were into the 30s to low 40s. So it's relatively mild here again this morning, and it will be again for today. So that's just a sample of one of our communities, how things change through the month of November. Beautiful out there right now. We've got that gorgeous sunrise, or sun just in general out there as we're looking over NDSU's campus from Newman Outdoor Field. We're looking at the downtown Fargo in the distance as well in this shot as we're enjoying a nice bright blue sky and sun. You can see the camera shaking a little bit. It is on the windy side. So right now temperatures are recovering after dipping into the 30s. We're at 46 in Fargo. Grand Forks also at that number. And yes, we have to put up with a little bit of wind. We've got some wind gusts into the 20s out of the west. A gust to 26 in Badette. It is gusting to 21 in Detroit Lakes, 23 in Grand Forks. So breezy. There is a potential we could see some gusts around 30 miles per hour continuing on into the afternoon. So keep that in mind. There is a concern about fire danger because I know it's hard to believe in November. We've got a lot of dead vegetation out there. We've got leaves. We've got on the ground. We've got anything that was growing that no longer is that could easily, if they're dried out, catch fire and spread wildfire with the wind. So I want to try to avoid burning today if possible. And here's a look at our wind forecast. It does come down. You can see through the afternoon we've got gusts possible up to around 30 miles per hour in Fargo, and then it starts to ease up as we see the sunset tonight around 5 o'clock again, and we're looking at much lighter wind at that point. So let's take a look at our radar and satellite. Nice and quiet and clear. Not much to show you there across the tri-state area. We're going to keep things on the dry side. And just looking at our forecast for today, 40s and then getting into the mid 50s here. So we continue that upward trend in our planner with that wind being a factor for us. And you can see around the valley, 40s more along the international border, some 50s to the south. Okay, so we are, you know what, I'm going to skip past this. You can see, well, we'll talk about these first few days of the week. Today, 55, and again, windy. Tomorrow, clouds will move in tonight, and we'll take over for Tuesday. And there may be an isolated shower on Tuesday that we'll have to watch out for. So a little more gray on Tuesday. And then heading into Wednesday, staying mild, a little quieter Wednesday before things start to change for that second part of the week. So speaking of, big holiday for a lot of folks around here in the valley, the deer hunting opener in North Dakota and in Minnesota. Friday, North Dakota, you can see there's a big difference. We've got temperatures that are on the downward trend. We've got the chance for a mixed precipitation in central and western North Dakota more likely on Friday. And of course in Minnesota, heading to your deer stand on Friday, getting set up, getting ready for Saturday. And then on Saturday, you can see that's the day we have our first alert weather day. That's the day we're watching out for some snow, some rain showers. Right now, it's still a bit uncertain on exactly what type we're going to see, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But it is looking like we have a greater chance for seeing some snow. And so that's why we raise that first alert weather day for Saturday. Sunday, kind of tapering things off. You know, that 40 might be a bit ambitious. If we get cold enough air pushing in for snow, I think Sunday may end up being a lot cooler. So it's a question of track on the system, and that'll make all the difference on temperatures and what type of precip we see as well. Okay, so let's get into our hour by hour planner here. I'm going to show you this starting at 7 a.m. on Thursday. So Thursday, I showed you the first 3 days of the 11-day planner. We had okay weather through that time. Now we're moving on into Thursday. And we're going to be watching for those waves I mentioned at the top of this live update. So we're looking at that first wave starting to move in on Thursday. And I do want to stress here, really quick, just want to stress that I'm showing you one model, and there are a few long-range models that we look at, and they do tend to show at least a little bit differing solutions. The two main models that we use, the European and the American, are differing quite a bit. What they are agreeing on is the pattern and the unsettled weather that we're going to be experiencing toward the end of the week, the waves of precip moving through. What's differing is the track on these systems and a little bit on the timing as well. And so that has an impact on type of precipitation and, of course, where we see that precipitation too. But what we do know is that we're in agreement that we're going to get more active toward the end of the week, and there's the potential for some snow, somewhere in the tri-state area and into Canada as well. So that's what we're looking at here. So this model that I'm showing you is our European model that we're using for this run. And it is showing, this is 6 p.m. on Thursday, that potential for, the green on the map, of course, means rain. The potential for more rain. There is a little bit of blue dipping over, so a little bit of cooler air as this moves southward, and it brings in a chance for a few flakes heading into Friday morning, especially as temperatures drop into Friday morning. This is, again, light precipitation, but still that possibility is there with this first wave. And then that clears away. We get a little bit of a break Friday. This is noon on Friday, so North Dakota hunters, you'll want to pay attention now. We are looking out for this next system to approach. With this particular model, the timing moves in as the afternoon and evening progresses. So by 11 o'clock on Friday night, we may be seeing some precip, and according to at least this particular model, you see the blue there around Devil's Lake, the potential for a little bit of snow. This model does bring the low or the wave a little farther south, so that allows that colder air with the system to infiltrate more into the valley, and that brings about that potential for some snow rather than rain. Now, if the low were to track farther north, then it would be more rain than snow. So again, that's what I mean by how important the track is once it sets up on these waves that move through. And they're fast movers, so they can be hard to nail down. Now, we are going to move ahead on Friday, and you could see Friday night into Saturday morning. This is 3 a.m. on Saturday. We've got blue down into the southern end of the valley. So again, this particular model really introducing that colder air in with this system, north and south. Doesn't mean it's going to snow everywhere, but the potential is there that especially in the northern half of the valley we could see snow. You can see Fargo, if this exact scenario panned out, Friday or Saturday morning, Fargo would see flakes. That's, again, if this were the exact scenario. And then Grand Forks, northeastern North Dakota is where I'm eyeing for the best potential for accumulation if we see any. And then continuing on into the day that sweeps south and east. So this is 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then that clears out. That's the main round. There will be the potential for, some brief periods where we see some flakes as colder air moves in on Sunday, so that's something we'll be watching for as well. But overall, the main round is more likely to hit us on Saturday, it looks like at this point. Okay, so here's one model. One thing I want to say here is that we're not going to show you amounts right now. It's way too far out for that. But I do want to show you that there is that potential if the temperatures are just right, if the conditions are just right, that if snow falls, the snow that does fall could accumulate in some, I would say, more grassy surfaces. If it falls at a fast enough rate, it could overcome the warmer ground, but in general, we're looking at grassy surfaces. And we want to look at where. And I also want to do a comparison. So you can see behind me, I've got Euro written on our banner here. That's the European model. So we just went through the timeline on that. on the precipitation rates as it's falling. This would be the accumulation if we end up seeing some snow with this system. So this is the one that's bringing in the colder air more so and tracking it into the valley more so than the other one. So you can see up along the international border, eastern North Dakota are areas where we're more likely to see that potential for a little bit of accumulation. Again, and it would be light. Now I just want to stress, the ground is warm, the air, relatively speaking, will be warmer. And so if we do see accumulation, that melt will happen pretty, as it's falling, or it may, stick around for a little bit and then begin to melt. And then over time, we will see it go away completely if it's cold enough to hang around. And it may be for a little while, especially northeastern North Dakota, again, depending on how far south that colder air punches. Even if it sticks around for a little bit, eventually it's going to melt as we've got some warmer days ahead. So that's a little preface for those of us panicking a little bit about seeing a snowfall map. Now this is a European. I'm going to switch to the American model. And you can see that there's a difference here. And this is actually a brand new update that actually, since I set this up, just updated. So this is new to me. Earlier, this model did not have much over in this area, it's in the James River Valley area. It was more Northern Valley and then places to the west of the Red River Valley at least. But if you're maybe out hunting in central North Dakota, you could see a dusting. Well, now this new model run has just come in, and it's trying to introduce a more solid round of snow and precip over into that James River Valley area, northeastern South Dakota, stretching back up to Williston. So this just goes to show just how, especially the American model right now, is pretty volatile with this particular system kind of swinging back and forth. And so that makes it difficult to make a forecast, a solid, specific pinpoint forecast. So what we're doing right now is just analyzing and parsing out what we do know and what we can see with these model runs that come in pretty regularly, about every 6 hours for these longer range models. But it does look like, I showed you two different models, and both of them show some snow that is falling. Whether it sticks or melts is still in question, but some snow possible during this time frame. And I should mention, this is through 11 o'clock on Sunday. So that means that we're looking at, throughout the course of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, total amounts that we may see. And again, this may not be, and it probably won't be, what we see on the ground. It's just the potential for the snow to stick. But I do think there'll be some melting. I do think that there'll be areas that don't see any snow at all. And then there'll be some spots that get that first coating of the season. So right now we're looking at a light snow, a dusting at the moment, and there could also be a chance where if we do see a scenario where it's warmer, then we're looking at more a mix and even just some rain in some areas too. And so still some question marks with this one, but definitely looking at a more active end of the week and a cooler end of the week to go with this too. And I do also want to mention there's going to be the potential for some wind as well. I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of wind at this point, but still looking at the potential for some wind with this. So let's take a look at our extended planter. I guess I'm thinking about our plants right now. They're probably mostly done, I would think, around the valley, unless you've been very diligent about keeping an eye on your mums and bringing them in anytime that there's the potential for some below freezing temperatures. I know I have not been, but if you have, good for you. We are looking at more mornings where we're below freezing coming up here in the forecast, or at least very close. Basically every night will either be in frost territory or below freezing coming up here. So looking at our 11-day planner, we went over those first few days just a moment ago. You can see that into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have the potential for a little shower on Tuesday. And then moving into Thursday, there's that first wave that moves through that we showed you in that hour-by-hour planner. That one is more likely to bring a quick shot of light rain. And then Friday night, and if you're farther west in North Dakota, more afternoon Friday, And then into Saturday, that potential for that next round that could be a mix of some rain and snow, could be all snow, could be maybe just a little bit of drizzle going on with that particular one, depending on, again, what scenario ends up panning out. And a big temperature change as a result of that as well. I think both Friday and Saturday, high temperatures will struggle. So we're looking at 30s, maybe even cooler than that on Saturday up in the northern part of the valley as well. And wind that is, going to be gusting into the 20 to 30 mile per hour range on Saturday too, it looks like, as of right now. Sunday will be interesting. If we can, get that warmer air moving in sooner, we might get to 40, but I have a feeling on Sunday we'll also be on the chilly side before we start to make a recovery and get into temperatures that are going to be a lot better for melting any of that light snow that falls on those grassy areas. Heading into next week for Veterans Day, if you're heading out to have any plans for Veterans Day, especially outdoor ceremonies, right now we're looking okay with temperatures into the 40s. So that is a look at what we've got going on here. We've got the week starting off on a mild note. We've got conditions that are going to be changing as we head toward the end of the week, and we'll be keeping an eye out for that chance for some snow. I don't want to scare anybody and make you think that there's going to be this major snowstorm. It's not that. It's just that we have not seen our first snow yet of the season. Some of us have seen our first few flakes, but we haven't had that first dusting. We haven't had our first snow shower in a lot of areas. So that coinciding with the hunting opener, we just want to make sure that you have that heads up and that you're ready for what may be coming our way, and you're not surprised or caught off guard by it, and you can plan accordingly. And things could change and likely will. So we'll continue to be bringing you updates on this as it goes along. I'm just checking Facebook to see if we have any questions that I might be able to answer here. No questions. Anytime you want to ask a question when we're doing these live updates, feel free to do so. If I don't see it while we're in the middle of the live update, I will check back when I'm done and see if I can answer them there. But again, looking at conditions that are getting a little bit more like Christmas. I mentioned this on the Valley Today this morning. I was driving into work. I saw my first Christmas decorations lit up, going crazy already. Those folks did not waste any time over the weekend in transitioning from Halloween to feeling the spirit of Christmas. And it looks like the weather is trying, or at least thinking about, coinciding and cooperating with that kind of spirit here heading into the weekend. So we'll see. But again, we'll continue to track this for you, and we will have another update from our afternoon crew. And of course, we'll be back here tomorrow morning with another look at how things are shaping up for the week ahead. In the meantime, enjoy the sunshine today. Enjoy those earlier sunrises. I know the sun is setting later, or earlier rather, than a lot of us would like. Nobody likes sunsets at 5 or in the 4 o'clock hour, really. But that's just the way it goes every year. And we take the sun when we can get it, and we've got it today. So get out and enjoy that. And we will be back here again soon to keep you up to date on that next chance for active weather and your first alert weather day on Saturday.